Hello and welcome to The Content Bite, a podcast for freelancers who use their words to make money. I'm Rachel Smith, a freelance journalist, copywriter, and content producer. I'm also the founder of Rachel's List, a jobs board and community for Aussie writers and other creatives.
Hello, and I'm Lynn Testoni. I'm a journalist and a content writer as well, and Rachel and I are your weekly co-hosts, and every week we're bringing you all kinds of tips, ideas, and some fabulous guests to help you make the most of your freelance business.
Hello, Lynn. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Rach. Oh, it's so great to be back, and I'm so excited about our guest today. He's a bit of a long-term colleague of mine, and it's another one in our series of successful freelancers, because I'm really enjoying chatting to all these writers and freelancers, because it shows that there's so many different ways to create a successful business, and I actually learn something every time.
Yeah, me too. I think it's really interesting seeing how other freelancers work. Like we all work so differently, don't we? We all get clients in different ways, and we've kind of like carved out little portfolio careers in so many different ways. So you do learn a lot from different freelancers. And I think today we're chatting to Shane Cubis, who's a long-time freelancer, and he's a colleague of yours. You mentioned Lynn. But before we start chatting to Shane, I think you're going to share a little bio for him, aren't you, Lynn?
I am. So I know Shane's a great freelancer because I've commissioned him. So I know he does good work. So he's formerly editor of People magazine, which is not the one you think. And he's been freelancing exclusively from home and, the pub as well for about 5 years. And in that time, he's moved from mostly magazine work to millions of online words aimed at teenagers, retirees, and business leaders. So today he's writing and editing lots of stuff for universities and startups, with a few sidelines in ghostwriting for AIs and a spot of learning design. So welcome, Shane. It's so great to have you join us.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little about yourself. And I know you've been freelancing for a while now. And so how did you start and who do you write for now?
So I started back at uni. My uni paper paid 5 cents a word and had no editorial standards. So I basically built a portfolio on 1,000-word bursts of nonsense. But my first break in writing came from The Chaser. I sent them a smart-ass email saying that they should get me to write for them because they were moving into TV and radio, and they loved it because of, being arrogant and funny. So they commissioned me to start writing news stories for their newspaper and then their annuals. And so I built up a bit of work to actually move into the industry. It's a lot different kind of work I'm doing these days. I'm doing a lot of SEO writing and learning design, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And I still have a few legacy clients, but after COVID, there was kind of a bit of a clean sweep and a reinvention.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm so impressed actually that you got paid for your university newspaper. I mean, I wrote a shitload of nonsense for my university newspaper, but nobody threw money at me. So good work on the 5 cents. 5 cents a word.
Well, it's a great way of building up a portfolio, isn't it?
I would never show anyone my stuff, but I think the first interview I ever did was with John Birmingham.
Oh wow, yeah, I've interviewed him as well. He's very easy interview. So
yeah, it was for the he died with a falafel in his hands. Very apt for uni students back then. So, but I see you started at the P Mags, which must have been quite an eye opener. So, what did you learn from those days?
How to talk to women was the main lesson.
Well, we should explain what the P Mags are. That's a bit of an industry code, isn't it, Shane? Tell us.
So they were aimed at basically people, males, readers 15 years and up. There were some like nude photo shoots of girl next door type models, as well as celebrities and celebrity nudity, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Tried to make people lean more towards the glamorous and funny side of things instead of the more kind of biker Beano bogan picture magazine. So
yeah, the P magazines, you've got to be really clever with the copy, don't you?
You do. So it actually taught me more seriously to write for an audience as opposed to, say, writing for The Chaser or for a nerd audience where you're trying to be the smartest man on the page. It's more, you want a bloke who's reading this magazine in his outdoor toilet back in Burke. You want him to get the jokes as well.
You paint such a picture, Shane.
Yeah, but it's true, isn't it? Writing, I mean, that's what I've learned from writing for mass market magazines. You have to think about your audience. It's good.
It's also like the interviewees, as I say, they were kind of girl next door models a lot of the time. So maybe they did a photo shoot 2 months ago and now some idiot's ringing them out of the blue to ask them all about themselves. So you have to build that rapport with an interviewee where they're not like a celebrity who's gone through this process a million times. So yeah, it's the same way. Connecting with people is really what I learned from those mags.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
fair enough. So how and where do you find your clients these days? Like, do you do much marketing or do you have a bit of a pipeline?
It's mainly word of mouth, and I'm always saying yes to things, and I'm always, telling people what I'm doing now and what's new. So I don't do a lot of editorial stuff these days. It's mainly, as I say, for universities and startups, clients like that who I get referred to from other people. So I'll often just get emails out of the blue now that I have more of a reputation saying, can you do this? And I will always say, yes, I can do this.
And then you sit there and go, oh my God, after
How the hell do I fit that in? Shit, working another weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Being based in Melbourne, you would have known all about working weekends and just basically working 24/7 in the past year. Is that how you dealt with the multiple lockdowns or, the isolation? How did you go with all of that?
Well, it got really quiet. A lot of places kind of stopped hiring freelancers for a while. So I did a lot of walking, which was one of the only things you were allowed to do down here while I waited for things to come up again. The most painful part was that I do like to work at the pub on creative stuff if I'm writing blogs or, trying to write that kind of AI content to get a voice. So I'll often print stuff out and sit with colored pens and a jug of beer. That was a bit of a struggle, but on the other side, I actually lost 25 kilos last year because
those jugs of beer can be brutal.
Yeah.
Waistline.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. COVID kilos.
Well done.
Well done.
Invented that bit. So I was going to say, since you've been freelancing for a few years, you must have picked up some tips and habits. Obviously, the pub and the jug of beer is one. But yeah, and generally, it must have been hard also writing for universities. They've had a really bad time this last year too.
Yeah, so a lot more budget went into marketing, I think, or I don't know the ins and outs, but they were certainly pushing a lot of marketing stuff because they were losing international students, trying to push online offerings and to more Australian students. So I think I ended up writing more in that space, writing about, things like digital badges and the sorts of courses you can do from anywhere on any device around the world.
Oh, that's interesting, because I would have thought it would hurt, but obviously you did well out of that.
Yeah, so that's a sort of a thing where you kind of pivot from writing from editorial stuff to writing that more marketing copywriting.
Yep.
Trying to not make it look like marketing, that sort of content where you are trying to translate this very academic jargon type stuff into plain English for people so they will sign up to do these courses.
I mean, you've got a huge variety of clients, don't you? You've got, quite a varied client base. Would you consider that you have a niche, or do you think you're more of a generalist?
I used to always call myself an insouciant dilettante, which is kind of a wanky way of saying I'm a generalist. I do have a specific tone of voice, which is kind of more loose. And, I try to put jokes and, keep myself interested as I'm writing, which some clients don't like and some do. Sometimes it's a matter of seeing what you can get away with.
So you can take the boy out of people, but not the people out of the boy. Or maybe
Exactly.
the chaser is probably.
Yeah. I did a course guide for Billy Blue College of Design, and I put all these jokes in it, and I thought, oh, they'll take all these out. And they just printed them all. So it's the best thing I've ever worked on. It's just so good. But yeah, that tone of voice can lead to getting work if you get a reputation for writing a certain way. So I've just started writing for a startup called Vouch, which is kind of a video testimonial platform they're trying to build. So we're kind of back and forthing, sorting out a tone of voice for that company, what it will sound like, but a lot of that's got my DNA in it.
Oh, that's fun. That would be fun. So there's obviously a market for a certain tone of voice, and maybe also when you're doing predominantly online content like you are, there is room for that sort of more playful tone, do you think?
Yeah, and I think there's an authenticity to it as well, where you're not trying to shoehorn too many SEO keywords into copy, or there's that kind of feeling that there is a person on the other side of it, and if you can keep it entertaining, then it stands out a bit from lots of other copywriting where people are trying to write to a specific formula.
Yeah.
And I suppose you get approached, like you were saying, specifically because you can do that tone, and so that might mean that you can set your rates. Or do people try and say this is what we'll pay you?
Yeah, with setting rates, it can be a bit of a crapshoot sometimes. Yeah, sometimes we'll just say, oh, this will be the range that I want to charge, and I'll just roll some dice, and then there'll be a random number between those. So it looks like I've thought it out a bit more than I
I like it. Fly by the seat of your pants quoting.
I think we all do a little bit of that anyway.
Yeah.
It occurred to me that when you said you're more of a generalist, in some ways you've got a bit of a niche, not necessarily in the industry, but in the tone of voice. That's a bit of a niche.
Yeah, it is. So I can write more formally, and I can write to a brief that way, but I prefer to write, that kind of, like I say, try to have a bit of fun with things and keep it a bit looser. I think it's more fun if you can be a bit self-indulgent, if you're also indulging your audience, if it's not just all about you, if you're bringing them along with it. So yeah, I suppose you're probably right there.
The theory behind niching down is that when people come to you, and maybe people come to you because of your tone of voice, that means you can set your own rates. They want you and what you're delivering. So I guess it's a good business analogy or business idea. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about the business side of freelancing. How do you manage that? We talked a bit about setting rates, but is that a hard thing? Doing that business side, or how does that work for you?
It used to be, and now I'm really just like, I have to pay rent, so
yes,
I'm doing this service. So I know you talk about different accounting software on the show. I use Xero, and that really was a game changer, because before that I was sending out invoices just as a Word document, trying to keep track of things either with pen and paper, which is a nightmare, or in Excel. And so having Xero, knowing when things are due, and setting the discipline of sending invoices every Friday. So I have a list of what I'm going to send out for the week, and making sure I just keep them going through and chasing people if they haven't paid.
Yeah, it's a bit boring, but it is actually less stressful in the end, isn't it?
I think it does take that stress away. And once you've got so much, or enough work, you kind of want that system in place, because it is a nightmare trying to manage it without something, without Xero or Rounded or one of those things. Wave. I don't know if people still use Wave, maybe not.
Yeah. And Xero actually does quite well. I think that and Rounded seem to be the preferred software that Australian freelancers use. Xero's got a lot more extra layer and Rounded too, particularly good if you use subcontractors. Do you use any subcontractors or anything?
I do. That was the other thing I was going to say about the business side. So obviously when you're freelancing, you'll get ebbs and flows, and I say yes to everything. So sometimes I have too much on, but I still want to meet deadlines. So I will sometimes give some of my work to a subcontractor, not the stuff that I talked about that I do in my own voice, but things like if it's subbing or something that I know that they will be able to take care of and I can just look at as a top level, I'll do that, or I will subcontract designers or people who have, complementary skills.
Right. And that works well for you? Does it help build up a little bit of a group of colleagues that you work with?
Definitely. So that really, that word of mouth thing goes both ways, where I can recommend people if there's obviously too much work for one person, or if there's a job coming up that I can't take or don't want to take on, I can say, well, I can't do that, but this person, I know this person. And I'm sure people have done that with me as well.
All right. Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
So talk us through, have you got a routine that you have, a daily routine or a weekly routine? What does a day in the life look like for Shane?
At the moment, you
can go to the pub now.
Yes, you can. You're the only state that can at the time of recording.
It's more structured than usual at the moment, because I'm working a block of 9 to 5 work for a client and doing other freelancing kind of outside of those hours. But in a more normal state, I would have a list of things to do for the week. I've got a Kanban board that I have on the wall with post-it notes of what's due and what's coming up to, as a visual reminder of what I need to do. But often, my brain will get stuck and I'll be like, I'm going out for a walk, and just leave the house and listen to a podcast about successful freelancing, something like that.
I know a few like that.
Yeah. Well, that's good, because I do something similar, because a walk is a great way of clearing your head and coming back. I always come back with much better ideas. Is that how you work?
Definitely. And obviously, there's a cliche of having good ideas in the shower. So that's another good thing you can do through the day. If you're stuck, just go and have a shower. Or You can't do that when you're working in an office. It's
That's
not the
true.
same. That's not the same vibe.
And they don't have showers, do they?
Yeah, exactly.
They haven't thought that one through.
Are there any sort of really good digital tools? And one of the things I should mention is ages ago, you were the person who put me on to Taper Call because that was before I started freelancing, and I know you did it. And I've always seen you as a bit of a early adopter of some digital things. So have you got anything you could share with us?
I do get excited about digital tools, and then so I end up with lots of different ones. I generally now work in whatever ecosystem clients want to use, which means you end up being exposed to a lot of different things like smart sheets and those sorts of project management tools.
I haven't seen smart sheets. Whoa.
I've used smart sheets. I've used smart sheets. Yeah.
Really good if you're working in a team and you can allocate tasks to different people and you can actually watch the project move towards completion. So you get that sense of stages, completing and progress. Yeah, so big picture stuff like that's really good. But I also just tend to use a lot of pen and paper, which isn't the exciting digital tool, but I find I don't really keep track of to-do lists unless I do them with a pen, which is just me. I've tried using apps and online tools for that sort of thing, and I never go and check them. Whereas having a bit of paper on my desk, I will look at.
I use pen and paper.
Do you reckon it's important for freelancers to sort of be able to leap into those different ways of working, like the client's ecosystem, as you mentioned? Because I've worked with a couple of subcontractors who said, I don't use that program, or no, I'm not comfortable doing that or something. I mean, that's really difficult, isn't it? If you are going to say that to a client.
Oh, definitely. And I feel like if you're freelancing, you should be curious about as many things as possible. So this week I've used Teams and Zoom, obviously, and Slack, Rise Articulate, Canvas, InDesign, Adobe Experience Manager, Microsoft Office. There's probably more than that, but just, I'm bouncing around all these different ecosystems, and it's interesting to play with them and see how they work and how they relate to each other as well, like what's good in one and what's good in another. And having that sort of grounding in different programs and stuff really helps when you are pitching for work, or when people, like you say, come up and say, can you use Adobe Experience Manager? A month ago, I would say no, but now I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just kind of adds that layer of ease to getting hired, I suppose.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I guess it gives you confidence that you can try. If you've tried Adobe Experience Manager and somebody comes up with something else, you go, I could work that out because I just learned a new program last month. So,
Yeah.
Well, is there anything really important that you'd like to tell freelancers who might be starting out? Any tips that you would have that helped you?
Yeah, there's a few. The main one I would say is don't panic when things get quiet, which I used to do a lot. I would worry, and then things would pick up again and it'd be super busy, and then I'd be really angry at past Shane for not, just relaxing in that time.
I love it.
Yeah, and the other thing I think as a freelancer, you're often dealing with people via email. So I've got clients who I've never seen in person, don't know what they look like, they're just a name on an email. So it's important to put some personality into your emails or into your communications so they know that you're a real person on the other end. So I legitimately say g'day at the start of emails, even if they're business ones, just because that's what I would do in real life anyway. So I try not to be too formal because that's my personality. So that's my other tip. Just be yourself and make sure people know you're a human. Talk about your pets or your hobbies or whatever you're doing.
Yeah,
actually, I think that is an important thing, because that's why we do the freelancing. So we're not like a corporate Autobot or something. So that, keeping that personality is good. And obviously it brings you work.
But it's also part of relationship building in a sense, isn't it? You slowly get to know your clients and they get to know you, and then they want to hire you more, and it just goes round and round and round.
What's your favorite thing to write? If you had to say, what's your favorite client or your favorite story of writing?
Gee, that's a tough one. I mentioned the course guide for Billy Blue. I really like writing for them because they have the reputation of being kind of iconoclastic and breaking the mold, even though they're a very serious kind of digital design college. Being able to write in that voice where you're kind of making jokes and starting off very serious and getting the serious information across, but then undercutting it with a joke at the end is one of my favorite kind of modes to write in, and they like it as well. So that's
Oh, that's
Yeah,
nice.
that's really good.
I have to say that reminds me of one of my clients who's Winston with a Y, and that's quite fun to write all those Y things. And it is fun when you can play around with it, and there's no reason why you can't with corporate writing too. I think it's a good reminder. You don't have to be straighty 180.
I know we're nearing the end of the podcast, but I just wanted to ask you if there are people listening out there who want to get into that sort of humour writing or, flex their funny bone a little bit more, what would you advise for them? Are there courses that they should do, or is it just about practicing and reading other sort of humorous writers? How can you get better at that?
Yeah, I think reading how other people construct humorous writing is really helpful. If something makes you laugh or even smile, looking back and saying, how did they do that? I actually did a comedy writing course with Tim Ferguson a few years ago. He has a book. It's more about writing for TV and stuff, but he has a book. It's called The Cheeky Monkey, and it was really helpful, kind of opening my mind to different ways of actually constructing jokes. Yeah, but I'd say the main thing is just practice and reading other funny stuff and seeing the structure of things as opposed to just lifting jokes wholesale.
Fantastic. Oh, Shane, thank you so much for talking to us today. Where can people find you / stalk you?
I'm Cubisia across social media, which is like my surname, Cubis, IA, which is if I ran Australia, that's what it would be called, Cubisia.
Fair enough.
And my business name is a terrible name because people will never remember it, but I love it. It's Knee Jerk Bohemia. And I'm updating my website because I listened to your podcast and it told me that I should have a good website. So kneejerkbohemia.com is live and doesn't have a lot of content, but it looks pretty.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Oh, fantastic.
We'll put that all in the show notes. Yeah,
we will, and we'll be
thank
checking you out. We'll be keeping an eye on that website. It better be populating soon with some good content. We like to hustle in the background a little bit for our listeners. No, only joking.
So thank you. I think it's really helpful for writers because you do different sort of writing to Rach and I, and I think it's great to see that there's so many opportunities and different things out there.
Absolutely.
That brings us to the end of our show. So thanks to everyone listening. Thanks to Shane for being our guest this week.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
And so if you like the show, don't forget to leave a rating and review on the platform that you find your podcasts, and we'll have the show notes in the iTunes podcast app.
Yes, and you can go to the links there to find out more about Shane. So thank you, Shane,
fantastic.
again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next week.
See you. Bye, everyone. Bye.